Let me tell you something that many people never stop to think about. Not everyone deserves access to your inner life. God places things in your spirit, dreams, visions, wisdom that are not meant for public consumption. They are not meant for every ear. And yet, because of our human nature, because of our need to feel understood or validated, we sometimes open the doors of our soul too wide. We reveal things prematurely. We speak without discernment. And then we're surprised when those very words come back to haunt us. But hear me on this. What you reveal carelessly can become the very thing others use against you. Think of Joseph in the Old Testament. He had a God-given dream, a vision of greatness that was true, pure, and destined to happen. But what did he do? He shared it too early with people who weren't ready to handle it. And what happened? His brothers, those closest to him, turned on him. They didn't celebrate the dream. They despised it. They threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and set into motion years of hardship in his life. Now God still used it. God still brought Joseph into the palace. But the point remains, his words gave his enemies ammunition. And some of the storms in our lives are not caused by demons or strangers. They are caused by what we shared with the wrong person at the wrong time. It's not that your dream isn't valid. It's not that your vision isn't real. It's that some people cannot handle what God has placed in you because it convicts them, it threatens them, or it exposes their own lack of faith. You see, people respond to your revelation based on the condition of their own heart. To a pure heart, your vision inspires. To a jealous heart, your vision provokes envy. To a wounded heart, your vision feels like a rebuke. So when you reveal your inner life to someone, you're not just sharing information, you're handing them a piece of yourself. And you need to be wise about who gets that privilege. This is why discernment is such a critical spiritual discipline. Not suspicion, not paranoia, but discernment. There's a difference. Suspicion assumes everyone is an enemy. Discernment listens to the spirit and recognizes the difference between a safe place and a dangerous one. Some of us talk too much, not because we're bad people, but because we mistake access for trust. Just because someone is near you does not mean they are safe with you. Judas was in the inner circle. He was close enough to kiss Jesus on the cheek and still betray him. Proximity does not equal loyalty. And if you don't learn that, you will keep giving away pieces of your destiny to people who have no intention of guarding it. Let me press this deeper. Psychologically, when you reveal your vulnerabilities to someone, you create a bond. It's part of how human connection works. But if that person is not trustworthy, you've not only revealed your heart, you've handed them leverage. They now have a piece of you they can exploit, twist, or weaponize. And this is why some of you have been blindsided by betrayal. It wasn't random, it was rooted in access. You gave too much too soon, and now you're bleeding from wounds that could have been avoided if you had simply kept silent a little longer. Philosophically, think about it this way. Words are seeds. Once you release them, you can't control where they land, how they grow, or who will water them. That's why Jesus told us not to cast our pearls before swine. Not because the pearls aren't valuable, but because the hearer won't know what to do with them. Some people will trample on your truth simply because they lack the character or the spiritual maturity to honor it. And when they do, it's not just that your words are wasted, it's that your own soul feels trampled too. Now, I'm not telling you to become a closed book, walking around with walls so high nobody can reach you. That's not God's will either. We were made for community, for connection, for sharing. But here's the key. Sharing requires wisdom. You need to ask yourself, does this person have the capacity to carry what I'm about to share? Do they love me enough to hold it without using it against me? Do they have the spiritual maturity to hear it without projecting their own insecurities onto it? If the answer is no, then silence is not secrecy, it's stewardship. And listen, stewardship is one of the greatest tests of character. God is watching how you handle the things He gives you. If you waste your treasures by tossing them into careless conversations, you are showing Him that you don't yet value what He has placed inside you. And why would God give you more if you don't protect what He's already entrusted to you? Sometimes the blessing you're praying for is delayed, not because God doesn't want to give it, but because you keep revealing what He gave you to people who keep trampling it. Until you learn to guard your words, your progress will be slowed by unnecessary battles you were never meant to fight. So let's bring this to where you live. The next time you feel the urge to spill your heart, pause, pray, ask God, is this for me and you alone? Is this for me and a trusted confidant? Or is this something for the public to know? If you start filtering your words through that process, you'll avoid a lot of heartache. You'll stop arming your enemies with the very bullets they'll later fire at you. You'll stop confusing access with trust. And you'll start walking with a new kind of strength, because what's inside of you will no longer be vulnerable to sabotage. At the end of the day, your destiny is too valuable to leave unprotected. Your vision is too precious to be handed carelessly to anyone who asks. Some things must remain between you and God until He says it's time. Because when you reveal too much too soon, you risk losing what was meant to carry you forward. But when you guard your heart, when you use discernment, when you understand that not everyone deserves access, you don't just protect yourself, you protect your future. So let me leave you with this. Wisdom is not only in what you say, it's also in what you don't say. Guard your pearls, protect your dream, and remember, silence at the right time is not weakness, it's strength, it's strategy, and it's stewardship. When we talk about being careful with what we reveal, one of the most overlooked areas is our struggles and weaknesses. Now, don't misunderstand me. There is a place for vulnerability. There is healing in confession. There is strength in accountability. And God often uses people to help us through our battles. But that does not mean every weakness should be exposed to just anyone. Because here's the truth. What you reveal in a moment of openness can sometimes be twisted, magnified, and weaponized by those who do not have your best interests at heart. Think about how human nature works. People are not neutral observers. They interpret your life through the lens of their own heart, their own biases, their own agendas. When you reveal your weakness to the wrong person, they may not see an opportunity to encourage you. They may see an opportunity to exploit you. And this is what Scripture warns us about when it says to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. God is not calling us to paranoia, but He is calling us to discernment. Because discernment recognizes that while honesty is valuable, it must also be protected. Let's take this to a deeper level. Psychologically, when you share your weaknesses, you are engaging in one of the most intimate forms of connection. You are admitting, I am not enough on my own. I need grace. I need help. I am vulnerable in this area. That's a powerful admission, and in the right hands, it becomes a lifeline. But in the wrong hands, it becomes a liability. Imagine you're in business and you reveal to a competitor that you're struggling financially. Do you think they will pause and pray for you? Some might, but many will see it as an opening to take advantage, to undercut, to step into the very space you're fighting to hold on to. The same principle applies in relationships, in ministry, in everyday life. Not everyone who smiles at you has your healing in mind. Some are simply waiting for a crack in your armor so they can take advantage. Now, biblically, this truth shows up repeatedly. Samson revealed the secret of his strength to Delilah. He thought his intimacy was safe, but it was not. She didn't love him, she loved the reward she would get from betraying him. And that one disclosure led to his downfall. What's sobering about Samson's story is that his strength wasn't stolen by force. It was surrendered by revelation. He gave away what should have remained concealed. That is exactly how the enemy still works today. He doesn't always attack with swords and arrows. Sometimes he waits for you to reveal too much too soon to the wrong person. And when you do, you've already disarmed yourself. Philosophically, think of your weaknesses as doors. Every human being has them. Places where we are not as strong, areas where temptation presses, wounds that haven't fully healed. To reveal them without discernment is to invite someone else into a sacred, unfinished space. And the danger is, if that person does not carry wisdom, love, or integrity, they won't help you close the door. They'll pry it open wider. This is why boundaries are not a lack of love. They are an act of stewardship. Boundaries say, I recognize my humanity, but I will not allow my humanity to become a playground for those who would misuse it. This doesn't mean you should carry your struggles in silence forever. That would be prideful and dangerous. Healing often requires confession, support, and accountability. But the key question is, who are you confessing to? Who are you entrusting with your weakness? Do they have the character to cover you, or will they expose you further? Do they love you enough to help you grow, or do they quietly enjoy watching you stumble? These are the kinds of questions that wisdom demands you ask before you reveal too much. Let's be honest. Some of us have been burned not because we were weak, but because we trusted the wrong audience with our weakness. We mistook proximity for loyalty. We assumed a smile meant safety. We believed that because someone was a family member, a coworker, or even a church member, they automatically had the maturity to handle our struggle. But access is not the same as trust. And every painful betrayal teaches us this. Just because someone is near you does not mean they're safe with you. So how do we live this out? First, we must learn to bring our weaknesses to God before anyone else. He is the one who can handle all of it without judgment, without exploitation, without betrayal. When you pour your heart before Him, you are placing it in the safest hands imaginable. Then, if He leads you to confide in someone, it will be with discernment and confirmation. And even then, you don't reveal everything to everyone. You reveal carefully, selectively, and with prayer. Second, we must learn to develop wise confidants. These are not casual acquaintances. These are people tested by time, proven by integrity, marked by faithfulness. If someone gossips to you, they will gossip about you. If someone is careless with others' secrets, they will be careless with yours. Pay attention to patterns, because patterns reveal character. A person who cannot guard the small things should never be entrusted with your deepest battles. And finally, we must learn to embrace selective silence. Not every truth needs to be spoken. Not every struggle needs to be announced. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is hold it between you and God until He tells you it's safe to share. Silence is not suppression, it is wisdom. It allows you to grow stronger in private, so that when you emerge, you are no longer defined by the weakness you once carried. So I say to you today, be careful with your vulnerabilities. Don't hand the enemy the very rope he'll use to bind you. Don't disarm yourself by revealing what God intended for you to work out with Him in secret. Protect your heart, protect your process, protect your destiny. Because when you guard your weaknesses wisely, they no longer remain a liability, they become a testimony. And here's the closing truth I want you to hold on to. Your weakness is not the enemy's weapon until you place it in his hands. Keep it guarded, keep it covered, and let God turn it into strength before anyone else ever gets the chance to misuse it. There's one more area where we have to be extremely careful about what we reveal, and that is our dreams and our God-given vision. Few things in life are as sacred as the dreams God plants inside of you. They are not casual ideas. They are seeds of destiny. They carry the potential to shift not only your life, but the lives of others around you. But here is the danger. The moment you speak those dreams out loud, you expose them to the scrutiny, the doubts, and sometimes the outright hostility of others. And not everyone who hears your dream is prepared to nurture it. Some will attempt to discourage it, distort it, or even destroy it. Think about Joseph in the book of Genesis. He dreamed that his brothers and even his parents would one day bow before him. He was young, full of enthusiasm, and maybe a little naive. He assumed that sharing his dream would bring excitement and support. Instead, it sparked jealousy and hatred. His own brothers plotted against him, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. And here's the sobering truth. The pit wasn't created by outsiders. It wasn't the Egyptians who first tried to crush his dream. It was his own family. That teaches us something profound. Sometimes the greatest danger to your vision isn't from strangers. It's from those closest to you who cannot see what God has shown you. Now, psychologically, this makes sense. Human beings tend to evaluate new information based on their own limitations. When you tell someone your dream, they don't just hear what God said to you, they measure it against what they believe is possible for themselves. And if their faith is small, they'll try to shrink your dream down to their level of belief. If they've never seen God move in big ways in their own life, they'll dismiss your vision as unrealistic. If they've battled with jealousy, your success will feel like a threat. And before you know it, their words can become chains that bind your faith and erode your confidence. That's why discernment is so important. Not every dream is ready to be shared, and not every audience is ready to hear it. Sometimes God gives you a vision that is still fragile, still forming. It's like a newborn child, precious but vulnerable. You wouldn't expose a newborn to harsh weather or dangerous environments because its body hasn't developed the strength to endure it yet. In the same way, your dream needs protection in its early stages. It needs prayer, preparation, and time with God before it's strong enough to withstand the criticism, the doubt, and the resistance that will inevitably come. Philosophically, your dream represents the invisible becoming visible. It is something that exists in the mind of God and has been whispered into your spirit. But because it's not yet manifest in the natural world, it can be hard for others to grasp. They can only judge it based on what they see right now, not what it will become. That's why so many great visionaries were ridiculed in the early stages. Noah looked like a fool building an ark when there was no rain. David looked unqualified when he said he could fight Goliath. Jesus himself was mocked when he declared he was the Son of God. The lesson here is clear. If you reveal your dream to people who lack the capacity to see beyond the present, they will label your obedience as arrogance, your faith as foolishness, and your calling as delusion. This is not a call to secrecy forever. It's a call to timing. There comes a moment when God will instruct you to declare your vision, to step out, to make it public. But until then, silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It gives your dream room to grow without unnecessary opposition. It allows you to prepare in private so that when you finally emerge, your vision is no longer fragile. It's undeniable. I want to bring this down to where many of us live. Some of you have shared your dream of starting a business, and people laughed at you. Some of you revealed your dream of going back to school, and others told you it was too late. Some of you spoke about what God put in your heart for ministry, and instead of encouragement, you faced skepticism. That discouragement didn't come because your dream wasn't real. It came because you revealed it to people who couldn't handle it. And here's the tragedy. Too many people have abandoned their calling, not because God closed the door, but because they let someone else's doubt drown out God's voice. So how do we guard against this? First, we must cultivate a deeper intimacy with God. Before you run to tell others what He has spoken, learn to sit with Him in silence. Let Him confirm it in your spirit. Let Him strengthen your faith. Second, we must choose carefully the people we allow into our inner circle. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your growth, not those who secretly resent it. Pay attention to how people respond to the small victories in your life, because if they can't celebrate the little things, they won't support the big things either. Third, we must learn to be patient with the process. Sometimes the reason God tells you to hold your dream close is because He knows you're not ready yet, not ready to handle the weight, not ready to withstand the criticism, not ready to lead in the capacity He's calling you to. Silence then becomes training. It becomes protection. Let me say this as clearly as I can. Your dream is too important to be carelessly exposed. Don't let impatience or a desire for validation push you to reveal what God meant for you to guard. Trust His timing. Trust His protection. Trust that when the season is right, your dream will speak for itself. And here is the closing thought I want to leave with you. What you reveal too soon can be stolen, but what you protect in silence will one day be undeniable. Guard your vision, guard your calling, and guard your destiny, because God gave it to you, and no one else has the authority to define it. Would you like me to now take all three expanded points from this speech and weave them into a full-length, seamless speech draft for you?